we have said under Brian's visionary, insight into this of saying, hey, Western states could be vulnerable. So he did the states debates with Troy Meadows of the Midpacker Pod. And then we had Speed Goat on. And Carl said, hey, I don't know that it's UTMB either. They're a little bit concerned, at least client facing, customer facing. They're a little bit too concerned with sustainability to get out of their own way to be the solution of the Great American Ultra. Right now, yes, it's Western states. Go back and listen to the debate with Troy that Wolfie had with him about why it's vulnerable, why we believe it's vulnerable. It's not a lock that Western states is the future of 100 milers in America. And it's also probably not going to be UTMB at this point in my mind. So who's it going to be? Well, what if it was us? This is mostly a thought experiment. What would we do? So we got to put our money where our mouth is. If we say that Western states is vulnerable and UTMB may not be the solution, what's it going to be? Wolfie, have I characterized it well?
Yeah, I think it's just important to make sure when we define the premier 100 miler, we're fully willing to concede that Western states will stay the 95 premier 100 miler.
Yes.
We're not taking any of the legacy away and saying we can come in day one, boots on ground, and be the premier legacy trail 100 miler. We just mean where the pros prioritize their race calendar. Meaning, is there potentially a race that could come into the season and they don't want the golden ticket, they want the silver bullet ticket or whatever it is that we're thinking about calling it, right? Like that's the direction we're going, just to make sure at the very beginning we don't lose some listeners thinking we're trying to take all the lore and legacy out of Western states. That's there to stay.
Yeah, in fact, I think the problem that Western states has is that it's trying to be all things to all people. It's
Right.
trying to be the premier elite, and it's trying to service the 95, and it can't do that. You can either do one well and not the other, or you do both poorly. And I feel like right now, poorly is a strong word. They're not nailing it on either to the extent that they could be. So yes, I'm with you. As the 95, I think the Western states, as you put it that way, Western states is a race for the 95. That's like a bucket list for my heart. I want to go run on that sacred route, the whatever it takes to get there. Like I want it. If I finish a 100 miler, I throw my name into that. Like I'd love to get picked for that. So yeah, that's a really important point to distinguish.
Right. And I think it's still important that even if there were to be another premier 100 miler, the elites would still be an important piece in trying to probably advocate or upset the apple cart over there at Western states to get more access, right? To figure out the Granite Chief Wilderness, right? I think if the elites were to go away entirely, the 95 isn't going to be a loud enough voice for them to ever have to change anything. So it probably just enshrines that field size for life. And so, I do want the professionals to still stay engaged there, but ultimately, I just want more access into that race while also creating a race that says this kind of like the Speedland of a 100-miler race. We will sacrifice nothing in terms of cost, course, access, field size, prize money to deliver the best 100-miler championship race for the elites. Like the elites are going to be the priority, not the 95.
Okay, so on brand standpoint, maybe Speedland is the right one. However, I tell you right now, Speedland does not have the deep pockets that we need for what we're about to concept here. But, okay, first thing that you need in the race that takes over is elite runners. Like that's probably the biggest challenge because Run Rabbit Run, as Speed Goat said, it sounds like, I didn't know this, he was kind of at the foundation of ideation or execution or something like that of that race. And we long before talking to Carl, you and I have said this, Run Rabbit Run has the purse. It's not getting the people though. It's not getting the top of the crop for some reason. So I think first thing is we think, how do you get the elites there? I mean, Run Rabbit Run showed that at least it's not whatever first place gets for that. I apologize, probably get it wrong. Someone will let me know. 25 grand for first or something like that. I don't know. Why didn't that move the needle?
I think if you have a course record or if you win your team event too, there's some kickers and bonuses that can get it close to 20,000. But Run Rabbit Run is the case, I think, that highlights what you have to not do if you're going to try in and make this, shake things up like this, right? Because Run Rabbit Run is too close to UTMB. Elites are not going to be able to do Run Rabbit Run and UTMB. And so you've already cut out the top of the elite field by having the race that close. And people always prioritize UTMB because it does have a comparable prize purse and a larger platform. So a win at UTMB, you're getting much larger sponsor bonuses. If you don't have a sponsor, you're landing a premium contract. A win at Run Rabbit Run isn't going to lift you. It's not as big of a tide for you to ride. And so you have to make sure if you come in, you're not going to immediately compete with Western States or Run Rabbit Run. So there's a narrow window, I think, where you can do that. Or you have to have just this obnoxious prize pool to where if you are going to compete with one of those two, carrot is just so large they can't not go to it, right?
Right. Yeah. So that's the thing. Like step one. I think so. There's a time where I started a tea shop and a bookstore after starting all these other coffee roasting companies. And I started that, and it just really discouraged me for a long time of ever having my hand in the product of a business again. And I just thought, oh, I am no good at doing product. Therefore, because Creek Tea failed, I am awful at doing product. Sometimes certain things could not accomplish what you set out to accomplish, and you read them the wrong way, but you cancel them. Like Run Rabbit Run, because it had a lot of prize money, a lot of people have said, well, prize money just isn't going to do it then. I think that's not what Run Rabbit Run told us. I think what Run Rabbit Run is telling us with their prize money is that that's still not close to the amount that it would take. And so while we're dreaming here, I think, okay, the flaw is to throw away prize money being the draw and just try and make it about competition. UTMB has tried to prove that, though. They've brought in some more prize money. We've ad nauseum gone through Western States not doing it. But is there a dollar amount at which the elites say yes and they will prioritize it purely based off of the dollar amount? That's the number that I'm interested in finding. And so elites who are listening will clip this for Instagram. Would a race that gives $100,000 to M1 and $100,000 to F1, does that make you prioritize that 100-miler? If you are a 100-mile specialist, does that amount of money make you prioritize a new 100-mile race in America over Western States and over UTMB? What do you think?
I mean, yeah, it makes me want to go pop some EPO or something to, turn back the hands of Father Time because I ain't competing. But I would think so. I mean, 100,000 as that trickles down to, paying out the top 10, I would imagine that gives everybody, something to shoot for.
Right.
I think this longevity thing, because I think elite runners have been so kind of groomed to think that the shoe sponsorship is the path forward to, conventional stability as a profession. And so, the race would also do its self-service if it's somehow partnered with, some type of, shoe company or something to also be like, the top 3 are going to get a contract as well. So it has to, you marry those two together. And I think you're onto something where they can't turn and look away. And then it's FOMO, because you start to get 1 or 2 from the men and women's field coming. And then they're like, well, I could probably beat them. Well, that field's not too tough, right? Everybody kind of thinks that they're their dog. So I think that's how it goes.
Let's say there's a really great 100-mile runner out there who's got a day job, but winning this race gives them the runway they need to quit that day job and focus the next 12 months on either coming back to our race again or doing whatever it takes to get to where they need to be to make money. I feel like on some levels, then, let's say you get a Jim Walmsley to sign up. Does $100,000 make him prioritize it over any other race? And by the time we got this out there, would he still be in his prime enough to be able to execute on the race? Would someone see him sign up and be like, oh yeah, I think I could take him on this course, whatever course. We haven't got to the course yet. I think I could take him on it. And so you're right. So that's going to say like, okay, it's going to bring someone else, and someone's going to say, I can't let that person just get the $100,000. Like I could take that from them. As someone like you who's competitive, do you start to think that way? So in a way, what we're saying is that the money gets the first couple people, but then the need for like deep competition is still what brings the field.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, I say it tongue in cheek of greed is good, and everybody has their price, but ultimately these elites right now are running the races they are first because the field is assembled, right? Like they do want to compete against the best in the sport, and this sport
Yeah.
has a problem of aligning all of the best on the same day, right? Like
Yeah.
we're salivating over Western States this year like it's some sort of Halley's Comet that comes once every 40 years. And I'm thinking this should just be the sport. Like it's
Yes.
ridiculous that the mindsets are backwards. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think the field as it gets deeper is just going to continue to attract more. They want to be at the start line with all the best.
Yeah, and let's say it is one of these great sponsored athletes. From my understanding, someone wins UTMB and they're sponsored by a Hoka or a larger entity, that they're going to get 25 grand for that win, 30 grand for that win, plus the prize money from UTMB. That's still not a ton. That's not enough to pay any
Not
bills.
100.
Right.
Right.
And then you look at Carl saying, hey, Speed Goat saying, I've always wanted to see runners get paid enough from a win to make this a career. That's crazy that doesn't exist yet. So 100,000 to F1 and M1. And then, yes, we got to have decent money for all the way through 10. That way, everyone who feels like they come in and compete, they don't get the win that day. They're still going to get money that makes it worth their time, and still going to get more than if they won Western States or Cocodona, so there's still something there if they're motivated by money. But any fan out there who would begrudge someone who's going after a race because of the prize money, I don't understand that. You're not a fan of, the humans behind the sport. Maybe you're into some virtue, or how would you even word that?
It's got to be a virtue. Yeah, because and it's hypocritical because anything else that you're a fan of or participate in, you always celebrate when somebody else does well in it, right? Or when,
Yeah.
if in your own career, if you do something that awards you bonus or merit increases or title promotions, like, I think we all celebrate when somebody's provided with an opportunity. That's all this is an opportunity. They still have to go out there and run and win and train and work
Yeah.
hard. And there'd still be, this would probably afford, would have to come with the most strict drug testing on the sports landscape as well. You might have to commit to this race 6 or 9 months in advance so we can do out of race testing, or at least have the threat that we're going to do out of race testing, because that kind of sum of money will attract people from, the dark side who are dirty runners or willing
Right.
to go that route to take the purse home.
Yeah. Okay. Next on the list for me then is the course. And I'm trying to decide what's more important, the course for the runner or the course for the coverage. I feel like in order to get the money into a race that would afford us to pay first and second that much money, the coverage has to be high on the priority list, because it's got to be covered really, really, really well. Because we're going to have to sell those rights. We're going to have to bring in brands and compel them to write larger checks, because the coverage would be uninhibited. I feel like it can't not be an alpine course, because the trees get in the way too much. So yes, of course, my mind has gone to West Texas. Every elite listening there, did it just do that? Wah, wah, this is what we're doing. But, it could be the deserts of Arizona. The point is that it's got to have really great visibility for overhead cameras and for drones to get closer. Drones to get close enough to where we know who the hell it is, or announcers that know that the guy wearing the red hat is, Brian or something like that. So the coverage has to be not good for trail running, but it has to be great objectively. And I think the course has to lend itself to great coverage.
Yeah, and so we started this by saying it would have no sacrifice for the elites, like it would be the premium experience, right? But I think it's a 50-50 bargain there. I think
Yeah.
the elites also have to understand that they're going to have to sacrifice some things in their typical racing experience, because they're going to have to provide more access. Like they're going to have to be more of a professional athlete in these other sports. I mean, NFL has helmets mic'd up. They have sideline mics.
Oh,
I
good
mean,
point.
there's a lot of things that intrude on the actual competition on that game day that we don't really see right now, and would be foreign, and kind of annoying probably initially. But again, if you want the landscape and you want professionalization like that, that comes with the territory.
That's a really interesting point to talk about. because what I loved, what was it, Inside the NFL, who used to make all those great, maybe they still do, just not, I'm not paying as close attention, but I used to have these VHS tapes in the
Yeah.
90s that, Lawrence Taylor, saying, I'm going to rip his head off, like you have all that stuff. You can hear it. You could hear John Madden saying just awful things on the sidelines. They're not dying for that to be heard. That's the marketing side coming in and saying, yeah, you're wearing a mic. You
Yep.
have to be careful what you say today. Like that's them doing something for the fan and the marketability of the sport and the event.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, we have follow drones now. I mean, there's just a lot of things out there that are at our disposal in the certain, race environment, right? The right landscape where there's not trees or things like that you can do that would make this sport more compelling for a visual audience that's not just core to the sport.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Black Canyon, I think, has a great visual package. There's some stunning drone views that show the tundra and the first 50K of that race course. And, I think, again, they have the landscape and they have the technology, but again, it's still from a very far away perspective. It's not up close. It's not mics to catch any hot moments, at the aid station. So
yeah,
it'd be critical.
Speaking of compromises, in order to pull this off, the sponsor can't be, well, Hoka's probably not writing any more checks right now, but we're in dreamland. It still couldn't be Hoka because they couldn't write the big enough check to execute this. We're talking about State Farm Insurance, Coors Light, which I will say the genesis of this fun thought exercise was seeing Dan Green chug the Coors Light and the Coors Light brand just being so perfect and thinking that's the brand that you need. We need their attention, not because their beer's any good, but because the check size. You got to have the check size from them. Would Red Bull write the check? They're in, crazy sport type, in the business of writing checks for crazy sports. But the Silver Bullet 100 is an awesome name that we couldn't do without Coors on board. Silver Bullet in that it's also the death of the other 100-mile elites. Like this is the concept. This is the silver bullet that gets us the thing that we as fans have been dying for, of the best field year after year, seeing our elites get paid, which makes every race get better every year because there's more money in the sport. In order to do that, you got to have State Farm. What do you think about this?
I'll take United Healthcare money. I don't care. I just want this to happen. Wolf is on record saying, I don't care how controversial the corporation is. Mm-hmm. Show me the money and let's figure this out. We'll sort out the brand later, the sponsor. Let's just get this thing going.
What's funny is that what this is here is it's on some levels me not being elite. So I'm really truly as a fan here saying these things. I'm asking something of my elite runners, that I'm a fan of. I'm asking something of them. Say, hey, who cares if it's a car company writing the check, like UTMB, that issue with Dacia or Dacia or however you say that car company that UTMB ended up, because of their emphasis on sustainability, got rid of them as a sponsor. I'm asking my favorite elite runners saying, hey, would you not care who sponsored it? And would you not care where the race is? If you could get $100,000, would you put on a show for me, please? Because there's a show that I want. And unfortunately, by the time we get the show that we want, Walmsley will no longer be a performer. He will be, the what do they call it? Like a professor who's only a professor in name only because they're too old to actually teach a class. We're going to get that by the time it's ready. And I would love to see the show of shows, like we're possibly going to get at Western States, though Hayden Hawks just said that he was out today or yesterday, which is a bummer. I don't know if we're going to get it in time, but what I'm really asking here, I'm asking something of the elite runners. I didn't realize that was where this was going to go.
Well, and I'm going to double down on it. This isn't a threat, but we will get elite runners, whether or not they're the core audience or the core participants now. 100,000 is 100,000. And, there's plenty of talented runners across, the United States and the world, who don't have the same, hangups or, cautions based on where the money's sourced from. And so, I love the elites that we have, their name recognition and, their stories are well known. But Josh, I think you got it wrong. It's not that we need to beg these elites to come. It's, if they don't, there will be others. Like,
Fantastic.
you know what I'm saying?
Right. Right. As fans, that's exactly how it. That's exactly how it would be. Like of the Cowboys, die hard in the '90s. If Emmitt Smith didn't show up, the Cowboys are still going to make their run for the Super
Yeah.
Bowl with
And
somebody
the
else.
next running back's coming in and going for 140 yards because the line's so good.
Oh, and
So
that's so good because that next running back that's coming in has been dying for a chance their whole life.
yeah,
Like you're going to you're going to have someone not do it on virtue. Then you're going to get someone else in there who's going to step in and put on a great performance.
yep. And maybe that's where the rivalries come from. You get these elites who take the high road and they decide not to participate because of whatever reason, and these other guys come in and girls and then finally they come around 2 3 years later, and now you've got a nice rivalry built.
Yeah. Yeah. I personally think a fun one would be Coors. I just think that's a great fit. And again, maybe that's just the bias of Dan Green, but part of me then thinks about the course. Now the course, if it's a flat one, it's a 13-hour course of, 13 and a half hour course, that's going to keep out your mountain runners and it's going to be just your speedy ones. But if you look across West Texas, I'll be honest, I already have a call into the 4 Sixes Ranch. I don't know if you know the 4 Sixes Ranch, iconic, largest ranch in, I think it's in
I think if it's there, Versteeg will definitely be there.
If you know the 4 Sixes Ranch, your mind was just blown. But I said that I have a contact of the person who manages the ranch. I mean, Taylor Sheridan now owns it, who did Yellowstone and all of those things. At least he bought into it. But a flat West Texas, the wind blows. I get it, but also you're near canyon. A lot of canyons. We talked about Polidoro races a lot lately because I want to go run the race at some point. Like working your way through Polidoro Canyon. But again, it's just got to be visibility. Go ahead.
People go run Javelina, and Javelina is a golden ticket race, and that's loops in the desert. It's 5 20-mile loops basically. Within a regional park that's not overwhelmingly exciting. And so I don't think we have to get too apologetic for the course as long as it's not 5 loops. You know what I mean? I think that's your starting point. It's like, can you make it 1 loop? Can you make it 2 unique loops? I don't think point to point's great because you do want the spectacle at the start and the finish line to be the same.
Interesting.
And so, I think the course is fine.
Yeah, I was thinking point to point. It's interesting that you say that because having been to Western States, that being a point to point as a spectator is kind of a pain in the ass. And being a point to point as a runner, is that better for the runner? I don't know. Is that more enjoyable perhaps? But the UTMB being a full circle, that's a great support of what you just said. That's a really enjoyable start finish line because you can put all the massive effort into it. And then you get like multi-day out of that spot. And it's the before party, it's the during after, the after party. That's great.
Yeah. Get a couple country musicians to go set up like a stagecoach festival around there. I mean, we're dreaming big. Jelly Roll is there with with Matt Johnson, and he's running. Maybe we get him out there.
Oh, dude. I mean, Post Malone at this point. I mean, Post Malone's from Fort Worth. He's a grapevine guy. He knows what it's like. He's putting out country music. Okay, so here's my question to fans, to anybody and everybody who's willing to engage with us. There's an element here where we're having fun. There's an element here where we're showing just how simple. There's a lot of money, but someone with a dream, and if any of you out there have several $1 million, and you want to burn $1 million on the best party that has ever been thrown in trail running, call us. But what do you think? I want to know if the elite runners who are paying attention to us, do you get motivated by this? Like, we're partially having fun, but we're also kind of serious here. Something like this could be done. If it's not us, like, we're humble. It doesn't have to be us. We'd get stoked if someone else did it. It just needs to be done.
Yeah. And if not this, then what? Because there's been plenty of comments, plenty of, grumblings within the elite field that status quo is not cutting it when it comes to prize money. So, if it's not something like this, then what? So we can start reformulating or retweaking and tooling this because we do want to be, somebody that brings value to the elite experience. We love the elite experience as a fan. It makes being part of the 95 richer and better. I wouldn't necessarily enjoy the 95 as much without the elites there, to inspire, motivate, to have fun.
The
It all
banter
goes
about
hand in
the
hand.
is great.
Yeah.
And that, I would never ask for anyone to boycott anything ever. As a fan of small business and as a small business owner myself, that's not the way forward. But Cocodona, these big events have got to write the checks. Like, if not, I'm saying this not as a threat. I'm like, hey, you got to write the checks, because someone's going to come along and take that element. And like you say, it's a 95. Cocodona 250 is a 95 event, heart and soul. That thing's on a meteoric rise, no matter what they choose to do with or without prize money, or without market or reasonable prize money. But man, why is there not an event yet that if you win that one event, that is the only thing you need to do all year, so you can prepare all year for that one event. $100,000. I know some of you that could work for, a lot of you that wouldn't work for, but what a crazy step forward. And if we're just dreaming and someone's out like, hey, 100,000 doesn't do it, but you get that to 125, that opens all the doors. Like, I don't know what I don't know, but I am looking for that number. For those of you who say it's not Run Rabbit Run because of the money, well, just at what point does it become the money? What's that number? Because we're just dreaming and this isn't even real yet. Let us know that number if you're an elite runner. What's that number that wakes you up and puts this race on your calendar?
Right. And I think I think it'll immediately wake up the Ironman UTMB series. If somebody did come and do this, I think it would just help the competitive marketplace for professional trail running. Like, you would see all elite championship prize purses go up if somebody were able to pull this off successfully with, at least a multi-year engagement.
Yeah. And anyone wanting to send a shot across the bow of UTMB, this is just my intuition. I don't have any good intel on this. I feel like they're waiting in the wings for their moment to strike. They're like a wolf, and they see this opportunity, and they're just waiting for their moment to strike to become the premier American race directing company. And you want to send a shot across their bow, you come in with a disruptor and do something like this with this amount of money. I'm not saying it does anything other than makes them like you're saying, makes them rethink things. But I feel like UTMB is just waiting for their moment to strike to become the premier American over Arvipa, over Western States, over anybody and everybody. And so this, I think, could be the type of thing that trips them up. If you're anti-UTMB, come trip them up with us. If you're just pro-elite runner, come be pro-elite runner with us. Like, that's where this whole thing is headed. We have had some reasonable conversation with some notable people about this race who wish to be unnamed currently, but if we can pull together the money, they're in. Gatorade is another lead that I have on writing that big check. Talk to Pepsi. It's not really in their realm. Just talking to whoever. If you're listening and if you could find us $1 million to 1.5 million to bless the ultra running world, hit us up.
Absolutely.
Any final thoughts from you?
That's it, man. I don't want to go the prosperity preacher way where I'm starting to say, like, you will have blessings upon your life if you can do this, but we're close to that.
Yeah. I'll rename a kid after you if you write the check. You don't get the kid. The kid's mine. I like my kids, but their names are just their names. They can change.
Right.
All right, man. Let's do this again next Monday.
All right, man.
All right. See you.
Hey, did you not want to